Hello YouTube and welcome back to the channel here today. Today we're going to continue our Monogatari journey into the next episode of Off and Monster Season, episode 3, the second episode of Nadeko Draw. At least allegedly. It should continue on from where we were, I believe. That would make sense to me. I'm open and, ready for anything, let's say. We could start another arc, why not? Nesio Sin is definitely in the building. Anyway, we're back, and I'm excited to be here. Last week was very, very good. Apparently this week I'm expecting an opening as well, which is fun. I can't wait to dig into that, I guess. An Nadeko opening, some Kana Hanazawa vocals, maybe, probably, most probably. That should be good. I was thinking about this in the shower just then as well. We should, as a society, honor voice acting more than just that kind of shitty award that's at the Crunchyroll Awards. And there should be a Western anime thing that awards voice actors in a more tangible way, like actual legitimately good performances from the calendar year 2024 thus far. And if I'm predicting ahead, Kana Hanazawa for Nadeko should be pretty high. I think her work up to now has been quite excellent, and if she's doing what I think she's doing and playing a bunch of different versions of her character and showing that amount of range, I feel like that should be rewarded. So yeah, that's kind of my tangent for today. I think it would be my favorite performance I've seen this year. Oh, maybe Tomoyo Kurosawa for Kumiko in Hebeke Euphonium Season 3 was very, very, very good. Other than that, I'm unsure. I'm unsure if I would award anybody else in particular. That's the question for today. Let me know who you would nominate. I haven't seen that much recent stuff this year, actually, so maybe I'm not the person to ask. Either way, I should move on here. I've got some YouTube comments in front of me, of course. A couple here, but one is quite long and goes into analysis of the ED, per se. I probably won't go through that line by line. Sorry, Panik, but I'll at least give some overall thoughts on your thoughts, I guess. Either way, first comment here from Razleth, starting with a time code here, which I've clicked on inexplicably. But Nadeko did indeed refer to herself in the third person. Again, it doesn't translate well to the English because they don't really, keep that stuff sometimes. But again, if you're listening to the dialogue, and it was a long time ago. But yeah, I definitely have some inkling that she used to say Nadeko a lot, I guess. Talking about yourself in the third person is apparently quite common among young children in Japan, and it's a very childish thing to do when you're Nadeko's age, whatever age she was at the start of Bakemonogatari. 14? That sounds right. And again, you can read into that with Nadeko's character. It certainly goes deeper. It makes sense that now coming out of that, growing and growing up, she's dropped such a thing, such a childish character trait. In the Atori novel, Nadeko talks about how she doesn't have a sense of self. She refers to herself in the third person, but also feels like Nadeko is a separate person, not her. Nadeko is someone that pushes her problems on, someone she can use to separate herself from any issues and remain guilt-free. There's a moment in Atori that highlights this really well that doesn't really work out how it was translated in English, when Nadeko is about to kill Koyomi and Kuchinawa calls out how insane she's become. Nadeko replies, "That can't be helped. Nadeko's an oddity now after all, but that's Nadeko, not me." Again, separating herself there explicitly. Even odditying herself, right? She's I get what you're putting down there, I think. Koi Monogatari would be an interesting one to look at if she still adopts this thing. Again, you could argue that she has changed into Koi Monogatari, like what Kaiki does there, changes her again, but she's moved, right? So has she still adopted the childish thing? Is what she changed into the god form in Koi Monogatari? Is that still coded as childish? Again, we're pretty sure she does, which again is interesting. You have all this power now, but have you really even grown? That's the conversation there, right? And again, what she's doing now is leagues and leagues better, obviously. We say very similarly here, her talking in first person is a sign that she's working on herself and no longer trying to avoid reality. And yes, we do indeed get an opening next episode. Not sure why it wasn't included here, but there we go. It doesn't really matter. As we can see here, that Panik comment goes on for quite a long time. Let's start with these first two that are separated into animation and story, and then we'll go through this ED again, shall we? Well, first paragraph here, you're just trolling me. Like I commented last week how, the amount of comments last week was a little bit time-consuming and somewhat tedious sometimes. we're here to alleviate that by leaving a very, very long comment. And again, I love the passion. And again, you're paying me, so I kind of have to do this. But either way, let's get into the animation here. I'll read through this and I'll get back to you, I think. So first here, we're either theorizing or it's been confirmed that the opening not being in that second episode was due to production constraints, which would match with what we were talking about last week with Shaft as well. Apparently this happens quite a bit in Sayonara Zetsubo Sensei. So just one for the road, maybe. There's no real standout cuts, I wouldn't say. I'm kind of with you on that effect, but overall the production is still stellar. We're highlighting one specific cut where Nadeko falls while changing into her previous forms. Great fabric animation courtesy of Kazuki Kawata. So shoutouts to that. I believe that's in the opening monologue. I believe it is, I think. Character animation is still top-notch, especially with Ononoki being that kind of emotionless character needing to get across a lot of intent through character animation, so that's cool. All of our black frames have been replaced with current Nadeko colored cards, which is kind of the Araragi equivalent there for her, which is cool. The white frames on it are supposed to imitate the blank pages of a notebook. Fair enough. Yeah, and I don't know what current Nadeko is. I guess current Nadeko just speaks to how Nadeko has changed. Like, this is what she is currently. Again, it looked like a social media handle or something to me. But, again, probably matching a teenage girl aesthetic. Something to that effect, I think. This was also shown on Discord. I forget by who. But the bike crash scene is identical to Atori. Again, you have a character going through an exactly, like, same situation, like very, very similar situation, right? And responding to it differently based on their change. Again, it's emphasizing change using that bike scene as kind of the controlled variable. Is that the one? Again, I'm bad at science, but you know what I mean. It's the thing that stays the same so we can prove changes. Yet another cool fact is the abundance of retro manga and game references due to Nadeko's favorite genre of everything being retro, as she said in the beginning of Atori. I don't know if retro is a genre, but sure, I digress. Hey, it's fun that they had some manga references in there, I think. As I said last week, I do believe the general premise of this arc is analogous to a number of other arcs, right? This other version of myself that I need to deal with in that given physical form. Like, that's a lot of different arcs in the show. Araragi had one, Hanakawa had one, Zoko Awari had it for a bunch of different characters, even though it was through the perspective of Araragi there. But again, for Nadeko's particular purposes, I still think this is quite good. I feel like it matches her character and those distinctive forms quite well. Also like this detail as well, the monologue in the beginning is interrupted by Ononoki because that's what's happening in the show as well. Ononoki keeps coming by and interrupting Nadeko's neat lifestyle, right? Her shut-in personality. And again, monologue, mono, one, I'm going to interrupt it like I'm interrupting you and your alone time. We have another example here too of the beginning narration being interrupted twice before, once in Kabuki with Orgi interrupting Araragi, another little hint there for the gamers that were paying attention. The other one being Nadeko and Kuchinawa. Yeah, Kuchinawa interrupting. Again, pretty obvious one, different forms of the different characters and so forth. I think. This is fun stuff too, talking about the differences between the Orgis, right? So, notably different than, and we're differentiating here between Orgi-kun and Orgi-chan, which I'm pretty sure you can see the difference there, I think. So again, pushing people to confront their problems. Orgi-kun in Hana Monogatari did a very similar thing with the devil parts and Kambaro and that kind of thing, right? Still obviously a troll, telling obvious blank, like point-blank obvious lies, like that we can't disprove what he's saying, but he continues to say them. They continue to say them. It's a little bit weird there with Orgi. But yeah, still maintaining a little bit of a trollish thing, but obviously not as malicious, I don't think. Orgi, the new Orgi, is at least leaning towards the good side of the equation, I would say. The ecchi is down right now because Nadeko is the point of view character. You don't have Araragi point of view character, you don't get as much ecchi. It has been that way in the past as well. Think about how sexualized a sleepover between Senjugahara and Hanakawa would be if we weren't in Hanakawa's point of view in Neko Monogatari Shiro. So, makes sense to me. Again, we have some thematic stuff which will continue into the ED about how this continues from Tsukihi Undo into this and how Nadeko is kind of facing these old versions of herself and trying to change. Pretty obvious stuff, but yes. And now the rest of this is just the ED analysis, of course. I will go through this at my own pace and mention things that I think are particularly interesting. Apparently, as we continue here and add different characters and so forth, this ED will stay, maybe change visually, but the song will stay. So maybe there's dual meanings in the song for other characters that we'll see later on as well. Again, I think it's pretty cool that they've got an outside artist in Yoasobi and are still being able to tell something pretty compelling in the ED lyrics-wise. I think that's pretty neat. Yeah, I'll be back. I'll do some reading. So again, this, 3,000 word essay, I think we wrote here at the bottom, 3,000 word essay on just the ED and its lyrics, not even the visual content, a little bit slightly, but not explicitly. I think the lyrics are quite good. I'm going to try to summarize the general points here for you, but I definitely underrated it, and you can definitely go line by line and see how it's applicable to all the nonsense in Monogatari thus far. It feels very summary-y, like a summarizing the show in that regard, I think. A lot of these thematic things about the journey of discovery that characters like Araragi have gone through, and then imparting that to different characters, I'm definitely seeing. I particularly like this part here. Where was it, actually? Was it here? Yeah, it is here, about trauma, right? And again, specifically, we had this ED after Tsukihi undo as well, and the trauma there that was kind of erased by Tsukihi in her kind of phoenix stuff going on, right? And how she doesn't have to live with the same scars, the Kizumonogatari stuff that she could have gone through, right? She is inhuman in that regard, but again, there's a differentiation between inhuman and undead, I think, right, as well, which is the title of the song. Again, it all ties back to that line from Nadeko as well, right? I'm happy the world isn't such an easy place to live in. Like enjoying some of the pain that comes along with living and trying to be better and striving to be better and so forth, right? Here's some pretty obvious ones. To be alive is to keep changing. Don't be satisfied with unhappiness. Keep reaching towards something else. This thematic line following throughout the entire thing, up to and including the opening line, which is unhappy, unlucky, be happy, right? Hey, I'm down on my luck, but literally, hey, none of that matters. Try to make the most of what you have right now. Turn that frown upside down, but a little bit more inspiring than that, I would say. Yeah, this analysis here is quite good and better than anything that I could do on the subject, I think, and enhanced my knowledge of Monogatari and my appreciation for the ED. Yoasobi's music, it's pretty good. I enjoy their music, but it's probably not my favorite ED in the whole thing. I just probably enjoy, what's the Bakemonogatari one? Just musically a little bit more, right? Where music is big for me with EDs, right? Because visually you normally have less going on, so the music carries. And again, I don't hate the music here, I don't hate the song, but if I'm picking one, it's Kimi, whatever it's called. You know the one, first ED of Bakemonogatari. Or I think I ranked the EDs before. Maybe I had something else there. Maybe, the other one by Claris. Anyway, I'm rambling like crazy. We need to start this thing. I think the best way to start this thing is to do the Patreon shout out, which I must remember to do. Let's get those Patreons up. As always, if you wanted to be that 1 week ahead, $6, or you can go up to $10 or as low as $1 if you just want some Discord perks. There's some tiers there. You can have a look at patreon.com/Animiddo, of course, linked in the description below. Many people have visited such a web zone, such as Annie Gregg, Mickey Babbers, Charles++, Anders Harlan, /Bobbin, Chobo Ribby, Domobot, Ed, Emily A, Fancy Question Mark, Fleur Nightingale, Fried Rice, Fruit, Gloriana Tenebrae, Glyke, Gus N, Heath, Hex, Ika, Yanko Yavanen, Joran, Kelvin, Kimskell, Clem, Nosta, Lou, Mish, Mistake L. Chen, Nailu, Nick, Parnik, Pencil Sharp 333, Ron Lad B&K, Saint Lily, Sam1373, Sal, Skeleton, Surrogate Corpse, Without a Net, Zan Echo, Zach, Binshi, Hans Peter, Marsh, Voodoo Chili, Aidan O'Brien, Sinarin, Funny Fat Guy, and Ramen Boy. Thank you to all those people for giving me money. I enjoy the money. Thank you for supporting me and stuff. It's cool. Let's get this timeline up because I have it here. So it'd be kind of rude not to get it up if I can. This button. I did it. Yeah, so I still don't know timeline-wise, but maybe we'll get some indicator. This episode Nadeko Draw, the new arc here today, told in kind of an unconventional order, I would say, with kind of the meeting with Augie being played before anything else, and then filling in the blanks there with the kind of ultimatum that the parents give Nadeko. Again, not going into all the details there, because I kind of did that last week already. Nadeko needs to become better mangaka by the end of the year, essentially, right? By the end of the school year, before she graduates and becomes a high schooler, otherwise she'll need to go get a job, and everyone hates getting a job, it sucks. So hey, how's she going to do this? She's going to create 4 more copies of herself, kind of these manga assistants that are going to help her attain mastery at manga, help her to win a prize and so forth. There's also this sneaky hidden goal about proving that she's a good specialist and getting Guy and Izuko on side and that kind of thing. So that's kind of a side thing that's going on as well that kind of Ononoki is pushing. Either way, she creates these 4 copies. They're based off 4 different versions of herself, one being Meek Nadeko, that being the Nadeko at the very start, Nadeko Snake Nadeko, I would say. Next time we have the what we'd call like angry, wrathful Nadeko. She's got her hair cut, something like that. No, there's Flirty before that as well. We can't forget Flirty. Monogatari moment, of course. And then Wrathful, where she has her bangs cut and she went off at her schoolmates like a freak. And then, of course, we have God Nadeko with the snakes. They've all run off in various different directions. Chaos will ensue, of course. Augie is kind of with Nadeko at the moment as we're going to meet these other versions and try to reconcile some things. The cliffhanger at the end of last episode was that we were about to go back to the school. So, that Nadeko hasn't been back to school, she's been a shut-in to this point, so it's interesting that this process of re-examining these old versions of herself is something that ultimately leads her to leave the house, branch out, and go back to school as well. So, that's where we're going to jump off. I imagine we're going to follow from that. If we don't, I'll look very, very silly. And, I don't know, to make good content or something. So yeah, I don't have much else to say. I kind of yapped for a fair bit there. Let's get this episode up, of course. Patreon if you want to be that 1 week ahead. Discord if you want to talk to me about Monogatari. I'm very open and honest in my opinions there, of course. Like the video, subscribe. Let's do this thing. Let's jump into episode 3 of Off and Monster Season right now. Rightio, I have episode 3 up there ready to go, of course. 23 minutes and 35 seconds on this one, so sync up accordingly with your own copy. It should be the MTBB version if you guys wanted to follow along with that one. Also, let me know when this arc ends. I would like to finish it with 2 episodes. That's where I'll kind of use my 2 episode buffer. At the moment, episode 5, or up to episode 5, is out as of me recording this. So let me know where the stopping points are. I would like to do 2 here at some point, but there's no use doing 2 if it ends in episode 5 or something. Again, as soon as you notice something, please let me know there so I can plan things out. Without any further ado, let's give this a 3, 2, 1. Rightio. 3, 2, 1, go. 8. School. She's just like me. What do you mean in your... Oh, to go find her. Yeah, good point. Based. No, accompany me, but it's important that you take that step, right? Yeah. Oh, sick. Awesome. Oh, in the next part. We're back, gamers. There's 5 Nadekos. Nade's story. Duet. Yo, let's go. Okay, this is fucking cool. How many Nadekos do we have? Obviously playing or paying homage to Renai Circulation here as well. This is just jolly thus far. Love the character posing there. Cursed hard? Sounds like an insult. Oh, Monogatari reference. Yeah, this is just jolly. I don't know what else to make of it. It's just cool. She's smiling, chat room. We did it. Okay, it's part 2. We did it. Don't bring your bike inside. Oh. Yeah, so she put on the uniform. Really? That's very interesting. Huh, I didn't expect this at all. I'm scared now. I'm very scared. But again, Flirting and Deco is mostly predicated on Araragi, or at least I thought so. Would Flirting and Deco do that? Maybe. This location as well. Huh? Really? Kind of. I didn't see it that way at all, but you guys are in the show, you'd probably know. Oh. Cool. This is what I meant about the voice acting, right? Very, very good. The soundtrack too. Nisei Mono, you say? She's a rock star. Hell yeah. It's all about the hair too. The show's good, I think. Thank you, subbing. Awesome. Augie is 110% correct. Okay. Cool. But how are we going to fix this? Would it? Okay. Put her in the frickin' Pokeball. Fair enough. Again, kind of like what Hachikuji did during the first episode here. Kabe. Okay. Time to murder. Love the flower petals there too. Terrifying. Love the colours. Come on, Nadeko, courage. We need some courage. That was awesome. Did you not just listen to what Augie had to say? We've talked a lot about fakes. Maybe the fake is better than the real thing. Oh, disappearing into the paper too. Thank you. Shut up. Shut up. Die. Get Pokeballed. We did it. That looks fucking awesome. Yes! This episode's like an 11 out of 10 thus far. It's very, very, very good. This location. This was in Nisei. I understand. And the water being used there again. In the spur of the moment, I say reveals the most about a character. There's a lot of power there. Mm-hmm. Oh! Kambaru mentioned. Yeah? Yeah? Do I get to hear from my good friend? Yes. Love Kambaru. Have you been doing well? That's the real question. Music's fantastic. What? That's terrible. That's so bad. What reference is that? Are we going to do a bunch of this? No, not even. We're just going to cover him with the hands. Or my Augie saved your ass. Be nice. What? Luma. I liked the nickname. I thought it was funny. What, like some kind of car? Oh, the park. Was that RPG fight? Confused is an understatement as well. Who the fuck? Should I know you? What? Am I... Yeah, that's what I thought happened. Put that in the timeline. I like the look. Wait, Yeah, you talking about bullying too. Mm-hmm. This is going to challenge my knowledge a little bit. Yeah, I know about Senja. Was that a crab cloud? They're not slick. I like the hair. I'm going to be honest. You definitely look less scary, which is a good change. Yeah, I was going to say that it's important that she's talking about hair as well. Your own experience, you say? I don't know if that's the right thing to do either. Anyway. My hobby isn't exhibitionism. It's really not. I agree with that. I know what she means. Hmm. 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 I disagree. Also, your life's not over. What are you, like, 19? Okay, showing off some vulnerability. Hmm. Okay. This is really good. I really like the aspect ratio change there too. Yes. Don't get Sodachi started about her parents. That's all I'm trying to say. Giving her a push on the swing, chat. The metaphors. Yeah, again, Sodachi isn't overly familiar with the occult, so it'd probably just freak her out. Exactly that. You got it in one. Okay. Okay. Yeah, there may be a second meaning there. Okay. Yeah, humans are complicated. Mm-hmm. Okay, thanks. Sure. That was very good. You have more power than you know. CGI bike. Okay, she's still intense. Oh, I see. It's like I'm playing a video game. Life is like a video game, I heard. It's the house has turned into manga panels there almost. And yeah, the Araragi, obviously the acquaintance that was unnamed in that conversation between Sodachi and Nadeko as well. That went some directions I didn't expect. The first half was probably stronger than the second, but both were quite strong still. Sodachi, back in town as of April. Which again, a lot of time has passed now between, I guess, the end of things in March? April? Maybe April. It was March or April with Zoko Owari. So we didn't really know what was going on with Araragi beyond that point. I wonder if Araragi and Sodachi have communicated at all during that time. Reconvened. But again, it's no coincidence that it's the episode with a lot of Orgy in it as well, that Sodachi returns as well. All these same conversational points coming back up again. This episode really challenged all those Monogatari heads out there that potentially aren't as down on things. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you're not up on your timeline and stuff, you may just be like, what the fuck is even going on? And now I gotta go back and review, like, Owari Monogatari Season 1 themes. So sure. I'm gonna try to write something in this notes document. Not a lot of tangible plot progress happened. There was some interesting stuff, of course, with Flirty Nadeko, which was actually the one at the school. So I need to rectify that. We kind of caught her in the page in the Pokeball, and then we went off and had a conversation with Sodachi whilst looking for Meek Nadeko, who is now rolling around town shirtless. Now, I know they probably explained it, but I know that Flirty Nadeko and Meek Nadeko swapped clothes, but how did she just get, like, bloomers on? How did that happen? Thoughts? I've got nothing. Because at least she should just be wearing Flirty Nadeko's clothes, right? Wouldn't that make more sense? Anyway, I digress. I'm sure we'll learn more as we continue with the show. I'm going to go write something. I'll be back shortly. And we're back. That was episode 3 of Off and Monster Season, and I think pretty easily it's the best episode thus far. I think so. First one was obviously very good too. Last week's was introducing the arc and the concepts. Their fourth, also very good obviously, but this one's the one where we're really hitting our stride, where I'm starting to make some genuine connections, where things are starting to fall into place a little bit. The characters chosen to speak to were fantastic. I loved everything that everybody had to say. I think this arc is very feel-good. I think the opening reflects it a lot in that regard. Like, it's a feel-good opening. Like, there's no... Compare it to the Morsaw Express, is that the one? The other Nadeko one, where it's like clearly ominous and something's fucking wrong. Where it's like minor key and kind of scary, if I'm going to be frankly honest. And again, in comparison to Renai Circulation as well, not as openly false. It doesn't feel like we're faking it. It feels like this is genuine growth, but also fake growth, Monogatari stuff, you know what I mean. It's good. It's a broadly good thing that's happening. This episode in the same way. There's no more tension with Orgy, but that's good. I think that's... And what Orgy represents here is so interesting as well. Just everybody helping each other. It just feels good. It feels good. It feels like we accomplished something. It feels like we're further along now than where we were. It feels like we've grown. And that's an amazing feeling. I really, really love that. You know what else is really amazing? Owari Monogatari. But I guess you guys already knew that. Reading through this again with the knowledge that I have of who the fuck Orgy is and what Orgy's trying to accomplish was mind-blowing. Again. So again, I'm not going to bore you by literally reading through the plot of the first 7 episodes of Owari Monogatari Season 1. But it's very good. I just did that just then. It was very elucidating for a number of things. I mostly did it for timeline stuff. So this was in October, right? October of the previous year at this point. Once we scroll all the way to the bottom here. So Oyakura had to leave town because of welfare reasons, essentially. She was being moved, right? And it seems like in the meantime has tried to go off and graduate and go to university and change schools and change hair and change herself, but ultimately feels like a little bit of a failure because she returned back to the original town and everything. I don't think that's entirely correct, but we'll get into it. I'm just like, oh, she's back. So she was back in April of the next year. So 7 months, something like that. She was gone, something like that. Sure. Lots and lots of good stuff here. I love Araragi's decision at the end of this arc. At the end of... Are we in Sodachi Riddle at this point? Sodachi whatever else? The other Sodachi one? Anyway, I'm rambling. But it's very good. The envelope and the equations and the math stuff and the decision that he makes to reveal the information that they learn about the mother to Oyakura. Hanakawa's role in that, especially as the other side to Orgi, all fantastic, all very, very good. This being the point as well that Hanakawa also starts traveling around. Is that also part of Orgi's plan? So much good stuff. Oh my god, it's amazing. What else do I have to show you? I went to April. Wherever April is, a bit further down. Here we are. This is I don't know why it's in blue, but this is Zoku Owari, which is March. This is now the start of April, where I'm going to say broadly that Sodachi returns to town after leaving and everything else. Yeah, just put everything on it. Fuck it. Sodachi's back at this point. I just thought I'd put that in the timeline just so I don't forget, so it isn't a confusing mess by the time I'm rereading this whatever point, right? So now if we scroll back down to the bottom, I've continued on from the Nadeko draw stuff, right? And I've only got 3 points here, really. Okay, so Nadeko and Orgi enter the school, and much to my surprise, hey, that isn't actually meek Nadeko, it's actually flirty Nadeko, right? This is something that Orgi tells us at the very start of the episode, and again, I thought I just assumed based on her wearing a school uniform that it must have been meek Nadeko. I guess that's what the show wanted you to think as well. Again, I'm going to leave the details when I go back through the scenes and what they all mean, but needless to say that Nadeko eventually conquers her fears and puts flirty Nadeko into the Pokeball, which is good. Shuts her in that piece of paper. Remember, she's only 2D, she can't hurt you. It's like when I have to tell myself that about anime characters all the time. It's only an anime character. Can't hurt you in real life. It really can't. But again, Orgi in that regard, very good. Love the bike riding scene there. Love the pulling of the fire alarm. Lots and lots of good stuff. We then search for a next lead. Orgi contacts Kambaru. And I don't remember the reason as to why, but it was fun to see Kambaru on screen, if only briefly. I forget when Nadeko and Kambaru even talked. If I'm honest. If somebody could remind me, that would be great. When would that have been? When would that have been, chat room? No, Nadeko's snake. Kambaru was along for the ride, I remember. Okay, I'm not that stupid. Okay. So yeah, I guess we'll approach that conversation with that context. I don't remember any other point in the past where they particularly met. But I could be wrong. Either way, Kambaru gives the information that Meek Nadeko, or we're calling her now Lumi Nadeko because of the bloomers that she's now wearing, she's half naked, she's parading around the town, looking meek, looking scared and stuff. The only, I guess, silver lining here is that she has bangs covering most of her face, thus they're not going to recognize me as the person that's roaming around naked. It's just a random middle schooler. That's why Kambaru probably didn't identify her as well. Either way, we're searching for this particular familiar in all the different locations. We come across Namashiro Park, of course, and Nadeko runs into one Oyakura Sodachi. Now, this was a surprise to me. You probably saw it in the reaction. I thought we're never going to see this character ever again. I thought that she had solved her purpose. I guess she was in Zoku Owari, now that I think about it, which is kind of curious now, of course. Yeah, it seems like we're going to reintroduce her to the show, and she's going to have things to do, which is interesting. I like that. They have a relatively dense, I don't know why I wrote relatively there, just call it dense, because it is, and thematically rich conversation about life, improvement, and going to school, and a bunch of other stuff. I hope I'm not here for hours, but that'll take up most of the discussion, I'm going to think. Plot-wise, this conversation leads Nadeko closer to meek Nadeko. Following that trail, we imply that through that conversation, they both kind of mentally melded for a moment and kind of intuited that Araragi was the person to go to. So I think the implication here is that we're going to Araragi's new house. We're not going to the Araragi residence where Karen and Tsukihi are. We're going to his new place. I don't know why it would have a nameplate though, so maybe I'm wrong there. But either way works. I think either way is interesting. Going to see Karen and Tsukihi, or going to see Araragi. I think both work in this regard. Seeing the sisters would probably be wise, because they always have information. They've got fucking spies everywhere, so maybe that would be a good person to talk to with regards to finding out information. Again, I need to reread that dialogue. I think we imply from the conversation with Sodachi that we're trying to say Araragi Koyomi's name without saying it. So that's where I think she's going, and the main character of the televisual series is going to be spotted for the first time in years since Zoku Owari, which is kind of crazy. So yeah, I guess he was in episode 1. Shut up, YouTube commenters. Let's go back through this thing, because I've got an opening to look at as well, of course, some lyrics there. I'm pretty sure I've covered a lot of the smaller details there, and we can just move into what it all kind of means in the production and so forth. So let's do that. Another interesting one as well was I went back and watched just a tad of Owari Monogatari just then as well. Interesting. I remember that show looking very, very good for what it was back in the day, but the visual and fidelity difference between that then and this now is kind of insane. So I think I'm underrating how much of a big visual step up this season is compared to what's come before it. Which, again, I said back in the day, Bakemonogatari looks good, but from a fidelity perspective, especially some of the smaller arcs within there, it isn't particularly great. Nisei looks fucking strange. Second season looks really good. Owari looks better than that. I think this looks better again. Just saying. I think that's the way we're going. Now, again, I don't want to be here forever, but starting the episode on a clock, emphasizing time running out, is an interesting thematic thing as to when we start talking to Sodachi as well. She feels like her own time is running out, the time to become an adult and do what she wants to do and so forth. And we just got to remember that we keep on living, right? It doesn't end life, There's no finite end to it. There's no end to that story. Until you fucking die, I guess. But other than, and even after death, if the show isn't showing that, then what's it showing, That after death, life still continues somewhat. We see Nadeko making her way to the precipice here. A nice shot of her feet as well, for all the feet enjoyers in the chat. It's an important moment here, shouldn't be underrated. Nadeko crossing that precipice back into school. Out of being a shut-in, back to school on different terms than Flirty Nadeko, of course, right? Emphasizing this kind of lukewarm water thing we talk about later as well. Important moment here for Augie. Nadeko is broadly stressed about returning to school, right? I can head inside in your place, Now, what did we say about Araragi and self-sacrifice, right? Putting themselves out for other people. Aren't you doing a very similar thing here? But I think you're using this as a propellant device for Nadeko to make better decisions, right? I can do it all for you, Nadeko. Wouldn't that be great? Just like before, just like when you were just cute and everybody doted over you and everybody did everything for you and you didn't learn and you didn't change and you didn't grow. Do you want me to do that again, Nadeko? No. Very, very obviously here, she puts her stamp on it. She's like, no, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm doing this by myself on my own terms. You can tag along, of course, but this is me, and this is growth. So yeah, again, I would like to think a little bit of Araragi coming through Augie in there a little bit, trying to self-sacrifice for her, and Nadeko kind of denying that. Augie continues to stick around, but that only continues to make Nadeko more uneasy. Again, remember the baggage that exists between you two, for lack of a better term. And again, emphasis on crossing that precipice point, and then that one step across into school, all before the intro. And we'll pop into that opening now. Oh, I shouldn't discount this fun little manga segment as well. We play a very similar kind of thing as we leave the school as well. Some fun stuff here, hiding in the locker, sneaking around, making sure you're not seen and that kind of thing, right? Even the signage here, very Monogatari-esque. And now we're into the opening. I'm going to try my best here, but obviously the opening's going to be played a number of times, so I'll have a number of times to look at it and re-examine things as things change. As I'm seeing it right now, it's another change from the Renai circulation kind of format that has existed for Nadeko's openings, right? We'll check lyrically here, but at least sonically with the music and just overall tone-wise, I feel like this is a more genuine look. Renai circulation feels a little bit more flimsy, a little bit more fake, albeit very catchy. Morso Express is all about fucking being a hidden psycho and stuff. And almost this yandere look at Araragi as well from memory, like wanting to possess him and so forth. This feels like it's on her own terms. Notably, there's no Araragi in the opening as opposed to the previous two. Do we see that? Do we see that? Also, it's a duet with fucking Yotsugi, which is kind of crazy. So question mark chat room, this here says Nade story, which would imply Nade Monogatari. But later on, it also says Oroka Monogatari Part 0. Can we have some, I guess, extra info there? If it isn't spoilery, of course. What should I fucking call this thing? Is it Nade Monogatari? I think so. Maybe. Either way, a lot of the value within this opening, of course, is through the lens of comparison. So again, I'm not going to get up Renai circulation and so forth and compare the two, but there is a lot of visual similarities, I would say, up to and including the pastel-y color scheme that we're using here, of course. Again, we must remember it's a duet and who's singing each line matters, so that we start here with Yotsugi's vocals. Want to do this, want to do that, want to do anything. This is mirroring the very start of the arc where we see Yotsugi visiting a kind of shut-in Nadeko and trying to, again, pull her out of this shut-in lifestyle and whatever, right? Do you want to do this? Do you want to do that? Giving her some motivation. Notably here as well, we have Yotsugi's little head dealy. It looks like a skull and crossbones here with the lyric, it's like you're dead. So we talked a lot about death and undeath and life, a lot across her early stuff within the season already, so we're kind of applying it to that. Being alive, being difficult, and effort and so forth. Like, if you're dead, you wouldn't have to do any of these things, as explored with Tsukihi and Ononoki. Treading water doesn't win the race, but that's just more AI circulation. AI circulation? I don't know what we're getting at there, but again, we're playing off of the Renai circulation thing, of course. You've taken Nadeko with chair outside of room and you're pushing her. You're giving her a push to try something new. Today, our story finally begins. Emotion like an unhatched egg. That's a Yotsugi line. Again, pulling her into the narrative, pushing her into the story, pushing her to find all these copies of herself and reconcile everything that's going on. We talk here about eggs. You're going to break out of that egg. Break the world shell and so forth. Yeah, she's gonna go out and experience life. She's gonna escape Atori Academy. A couple of other elements here. We have a with a posed look from Yotsugi, which I forgot her little punchline there. She's kind of dropped that, I think. that was something during a previous point in the story, I think. We do a say no here for a ready and. Kind of like Renai circulation, again, bringing in that musical element. This dream yearning for eternity is ended by the morning coming. Okay, breaking out of a daze and into a little bit more of reality. True, as we see a bunch of copies of Nadeko playing around. Very notably, it's not new Nadeko, it's old Nadeko. She's got longer hair, she's got the bangs, it's hiding and so forth. Again, the copies here aren't exactly analogous to the copies in the actual televisual program, but them kind of playing around within her own head is kind of interesting too. I've cried so many tears of sugar, but at least now I see what I feel. What do you mean by that? Tears of sugar? Sweet tears? Sure. Yeah, you've come out on the other side of some tragedy. Let's say that, sure. And I can see that, growing from failure and pain in the past. In particular, these copies of Nadeko look like they're fucking tormenting the shit out of Yotsugi, so that's no good. In a very childish sense, the visuals in the opening, they're kind of like bringing Nadeko outside and in a, like schoolyard kind of games. We're bringing her into like schoolyard games with versions of herself, right? Playing nice, meeting new people, going out and experiencing the world, reconciling elements of your past. And we're playing along, right? We see here that we're covering our eyes here in a very similar sense we see in the next kind of frame. Nadeko was in a similar spot covering her eyes. It got a little bit intimidating here and a little bit blushy as well. Oh, this line here is continuing from the last. So we took those sugary tears and time cooked them into a bittersweet caramel. Okay. Bitter and sweet. Cool. The ribbon like a cursed armor wrapped tight. Like the ribbon around like a piece of caramel, like a gift caramel or something like that. Maybe, I don't know. I really like this pre-chorus building back up energy out of the jubilant verses. Like it's got there's a melancholy there, but again, feels genuine. That's what I really want to emphasize from this opening, right? It doesn't feel like a mask that we're putting on. It really doesn't. Only these feelings will ever understand these feelings I feel, which I think is on purpose convoluted, sure. This is the posing that I really like from the opening, that kind of from there to there of the different characters. They may be younger versions of me, they may be other versions of me, but ultimately they were me, something which we also explore in this episode too. The opening is called Caramel Ribbon Kirstad? Kirsted? I don't want to say tard. It sounds like I'm calling somebody a name, which is no good. But I get you with the caramel. It's already been referenced in the lyrics already. Unsure about the ribbon. Is this a ribbon, chat room? I don't know what else to say there. Hand in hand, let's tackle it step by step. Our story, the promises we hold dear. Our motivations, the things that drive us, right? Hand in hand, let's tackle them. We have adversity before us. I don't need to talk about it in the arc, but you know what I mean. Let's tackle it hand in hand. Again, reconciling all these different versions. Or even reconciling the relationship that I have with Ononoki. Even some other characters like Kambaru and that kind of thing. Just making friends. We're making progress. It's feel good. I should mention the line work here, which I think is purposefully a little bit more cartoony and graphic novel-y in a way that I really like. Kind of stronger lines on the outside of the character designs. Good. Enjoyable. Furthermore, some more kind of childhood schoolyard games here like hopscotch and so forth. A vibrantly checkered past, the story of poor me. I think that's a good lyric as well. Or even hear these old versions using kind of puppets of all these different characters. Look at this little Augie puppet. Harry Potter puppet pals, but with fucking Monogatari characters, sure. Let's fill up these empty pages with a new chapter. We see a notably older Nadeko here sitting at a table all alone with her little notebook, getting some ideas. Again, here emphasizing that I think that she's at peace with herself a little bit more after the events of the opening. Again, Yotsugi pushing her out, her meeting these challenges and becoming better by the very end. A little bit of a story through the opening, I think. Of course, ending the opening on a, that's very interesting. This face is very similar to old Nadeko, but I don't feel that bad about it. I don't feel like it's as performative as it was before. I want to get an example up, but I don't know where to find it. Maybe in Nadeko's Snake itself, but I feel like he used to smile pensively like this quite a bit. But this feels a little bit more real. It just feels something in the eyes, maybe a little bit more genuine. Maybe you were closing your eyes in the past, not showing off everything. Maybe the bangs hiding things, but now that's not the way. Now she's a bit different. And in the opening on that visual there as well with the love heart and the hat and the ribbon and so forth. Yeah, that was very good. Again, song could probably be a touch catchier, but it's like literally ran eye circulation for half of it, so you can't really fail from that perspective. More than it just being interesting to look at, I think it tells a compelling story, and again, like shows off the themes of the arc quite well. It maybe even be too much on the nose if I'm honest, right? Again, nothing's touching Dark Cherry Mystery for the best opening, I don't think, but this is up there. It's quite good. I would recommend this opening. 5 bags of popcorn or whatever I normally say. Now we've successfully recorded for 27 minutes and I haven't made it 2 minutes into the episode. Let's try to speed things along a little bit. Couple of things here to start us off. It tickles my fancy that Augie just brought the bike into school. I think that's just kind of neat. 2, it's the information I've told you guys already that it isn't actually meek Nadeko but instead flirty Nadeko. And I like this visual moment with the silhouetting and the stars and so forth, right? Very matching, or very in matching with the outwardly, socially, butterfly-y flirty Nadeko. Then what's the justification for the costuming? Yeah, when I drew her, she was wearing what I was wearing when I talked to Araragi that one day, a very revealing camisole. I believe is how you say that. Fantastic visual moment here, really like the canvassing in the background too. Kind of like we're playing like a dress-up game, a very childish dress-up game, and we're getting different outfits that you can put on various different characters. We're using this visual moment to explain how Flirty Nadeko went over to Mika Nadeko and basically told her to strip and give me your clothes and so forth. Now, the implication is that they didn't swap clothes, I don't think. You just demanded the uniform and now you're just half naked. So you have both sets of clothes. I think that's how I'm reading this. That's quite funny, I think. The sheer amount of art style changes and so forth has been very impressive. We have Flirty Nadeko here beating up Mika Nadeko and stealing the clothes. Again, I'd like the visual moment here too. A couple of less important plot things in the episode. We've graduated, so Flirty Nadeko would be in a different class, which is troublesome. I don't know where to look for her. Recess is starting and they could see us. That would cause problems. But more, again, pertinently for the theming stuff, we have Augie here responding to Nadeko's claims that these are my former selves, right? These aren't me right now. These can't be me right now. They're not aspects of my personality as they exist right now. They're things that I have grown from already. This is a dangerous perspective. I don't think it's a good idea to distance yourself from the familiars like that, right? And we'll continue to explain here. They're babies that were just born. It's not like Sengoku Nadeko from a year ago that was brought here was using a time machine. Now, it's an interesting visual chosen for this because this is a very clear reference to Otori Monogatari, I believe, right? Now, getting timeline stuff has been very interesting because Owari Monogatari 1 happens before Otori Monogatari, right? Timeline-wise. So what Augie is doing in Otori Monogatari is in response to Araragi's response to Owari Monogatari 1 and the Sodachi stuff, which is interesting that we're reconciling all those characters here within this arc, right? This moment specifically is when the snake comes out of the phone, I believe, when Nadeko's kind of freaking out and so forth, right? I forget who she's calling. Is she calling Araragi or something like that? And then the snake just pops out? Something in that, maybe? I don't know. Again, it's interesting that we're referencing a Sengoku Nadeko from a year ago when literally a year ago these two characters were essentially in the same location having a weird snake conversation, right? Or at least close by. So again, theming-wise, that's important that, it's actually me right now and these are my emotions here at this point that still exist, but they haven't come out again because I've been a shut-in, basically, and now I'm kind of confronting those thematically. But also tangibly, she doesn't know what class she's in either, so let's just do what I would do. She's essentially myself, so she should do the same things that I would have done, right? Now, in the very start of this episode, I was talking about voice acting. We meet with Flirty Nadeko here, and I think the voice acting is brilliant. We're playing the same character, but a different version, emphasizing a different character trait, and the performance matches. I just think that's fantastic. Unpopular opinion. Nobody's ever said this. I think Kana Hanazawa might be pretty good at this whole voice acting caper. I think she might be okay. I think she might have a career in this. I mentioned previously as well that we don't normally see other characters, the crowd, essentially, background characters in Monogatari, unless, in some specific circumstances we do. But here we see them, but they're shiny, they're kira, right? I'm a social butterfly. Everything's sparkly, everything's shiny, everything's rainbow, everything's Technicolor. How good's life, right? It's reflecting to Nadeko a version of herself that could exist if she acted a certain way, right? But again, much like Renai Circulation, this feels very artificial. It doesn't feel real, it doesn't feel honest to Nadeko's current character. Particularly taking on some stage direction notes here as well. I really like the spotlight and the kind of camera panning above her swelling around. It feels like she's the star of her own stage musical within her own classroom. Really like this fisheye lens as we pan back to the real Nadeko as well. She sees this other version of herself and she feels immediately kind of jealous. Would it be better if I sunk into the page instead of this other version? This is another fantastic visual moment, looking through this love heart at this version that I've sketched on the piece of paper, right? It's like my manga's come to life, it's crazy. We also say that this Nadeko is a fake, but I don't think this is a fake in the good way that somebody is fake. I think this is fake in a, like, you're a phony type, you're not being real to yourself type thing, right? It's not the Monogatari definition of fake, I wouldn't say. We move the stage production stuff even further here to almost an idol show of Nadeko within her own classroom. She's got the affections of all the other different students, right? I felt really jealous of this version of myself. I was jealous of the cookie-cutter version of myself that was mass-produced, that everything came easy to her, right? It was like, again, she was grown in a lab. She was grown like a piece of fucking produce to be what the ideal of a high school girl in Japan at this time would be. She was glimmering so much it was almost blinding, entertaining all the people around her. I couldn't stand to watch. Again, confronted with your own inadequacies. However, pitch black screen, Augie speaking here. If I were happy right now, I wouldn't be chasing my dreams. Again, she looks happy. She looks shining. She looks everything to everybody. She looks awesome, right? But remember your phrase from before. I'm very happy that the world isn't such an easy place to live in. Now that looks like an easy place to live in, a place where I don't have to give effort, a place where I get to live in this kind of lukewarm reality forever. Is that really what you want, Nadeko? I love that Augie is the one to tell you this. This is genuinely good advice from Augie, which is a crazy thing to say. We emphasize this water point here with a literal visual for that, right? Just remember what eventually happens to lukewarm water as well. It turns cold, right? Even if the short-term situation is fine, anxiety towards the future will lurk in the background. You are too self-aware. You will see yourself performing like this in these situations, and you'll get anxious about it. You'll get anxious about this is being the real me, or can I do this forever, or anything else, right? You'll feel a ticking time towards your dream not being accomplished and so forth, right? And yeah, that's a bad thing. We don't want that to happen. Look at her again. She looks like she's holding up a mask of herself right now. It's flimsy, it's fake, it's two-dimensional. You don't want to be like that, right? Another great moment here. Looks, again, in contrast, Augie's given perspective here. She looked so shining and animated before, now she looks so paper thin. And I think that perspective from Augie given changes this form in her own mind, right? The grass is always greener, of course. She may look at you, the current Nadeko, chasing her dream, and that may seem even more brilliant. You may be the shining one to her. Just remember that. And again, Augie is the one saying this. Augie, who is also Araragi, who had to go through similar lessons back in the day. Of course. So, Araragi's journey from, like, a fucking nerd into a delinquent, into a absolute, like, fucking, what would you say? He's, like, socially inept. He's like a nobody. He's like a stupid kid at school that nobody likes. To grow to the person that he is today, that's the arc of the show. And just remember, like, the grass is always greener, you know? You go through these moments in your life and you come out on the other side. So with that knowledge, Nadeko, you take that and you go and take out this version of yourself that has the rest of the classmates kind of spellbound, right? We then flash back a little bit. This is in the wake of the other Nadekos escaping, as we can see through the big fucking hole in the glass here that God Nadeko went through. Hey, you should get a piece of paper and then close it, and that will kind of solve this situation. This technique was taught to me by Hachikuji, of course, during Tsukihi Undo, which, yeah, I like the continuity there. I think that's pretty neat. So carry a blank page with you, slam it into their head, and then shut the fucking book, right? Fold it up like you're sandwiching her. I wish I was sandwiched. Anyway, that's another question entirely. We get a little bit metaphorical here. It's like the other version of me is creating this wall of humans that I have to get through, and I can't quite access her and shut the page. One, it's socially anxiety-inducing, right? Because I'll have to see all these classmates again, right? But two, it's like this social barrier that she's put up. Like, she's really good at these social skills. This is the thing that I have to overcome. The social problem that I must face in order to improve my personality and grow and change and so forth. Well, that's great too. This visual moment here, right? That is literally from Moso Express. Is that even the right opening? I've kept saying that. I should check. Yes, it is. Yeah, fun visual moment there. She would become so powerful that she must be exterminated, much like you becoming a different thing during Atori Monogatari, which is being referenced. Again, quite a scary social moment here as Nadeko tries to yell out and get them to break the spell that Floating Nadeko has over them. I hate this moment here with the teeth. Terrifying. I don't like that. A very human and confronting element of all these different faceless people in the crowds, like these fake forced smiles almost, right? Read into that as you will. As Flirty Nadeko makes her way down the runway, I feel like I'm falling apart. I feel like I'm the one that should be shut and disappeared and so forth, right? She shines so much brighter than me, right? Who am I to take that away from her? What if I just disappeared instead? Or more metaphorically, what if this aspect of my personality disappeared instead and I let this other familiar take over and be the main Nadeko, right? What if, again, all these different aspects of my personality, I emphasized this one, being socially butterfly, right? What if that was my thing? I mean, I'm the one who's flimsy as paper, truly a fake. Truly a fake is an oxymoron as well. But again, contrast Flirty Nadeko's fakeness with your fakeness. Your fakeness is that you're not the real thing yet, but you're trying to be. You're trying to be good, but you're a bad person. And that's more powerful than her, which is a bad person that's trying to be a worse person. I don't know. you get what I mean though, right? Either way, we're sinking into the page, they're sinking into the page, but then we hear the fire alarm start to go off, right? Taken from the blues of the scene is replaced with this red emergency, everything else in between. And who's the one responsible for hitting the button? Oh, why, it's Augie. Augie again helping in their own way. Bit of a derpy looking face, but we'll forgive it. This is great. Augie recognized that Nadeko wasn't quite strong enough to confront this as of yet, and gave her an out. Helped her to break out of the funk that she was currently in. Good job, Augie. I can't believe I'm saying that, but thank you. Nadeko seizes this opportunity to shut Flirty Nadeko. Nadeko says that doing what she's doing right now is embarrassing. If we run that back to Koi Monogatari, that was one of the main sticking points there, right? Is that Kaiki finding out about this manga thing and this passion that you have was embarrassing. You fucking hated that shit. Hated that somebody knew your darkest secret. Again, if you become big doing this, people are going to know that you like manga and draw manga as well. You're going to have to confront that. And again, this is a visual representation for her confronting the social anxiety of pursuing her dream. Pretty simple stuff, I think, but well executed. It's good. Yeah, and Nadeko has a moment of strength there. She tells her to shut up and shuts the page. She won. Thank you. Good job. Augie is then cool. Augie's definitely got a bit of Araragi face going on here as well. It might just be the uniform too, but the slide into that look is very, very good. The jump. This whole sequence is directed fantastically, loving the shadows and the lines in the background, emphasizing speed. Colors, it's all just good. It's very, very well produced. I think during this moment in the episode I said it was like an 11 out of 10. I don't disagree. It's very, very good. Now, if any of the Monogatari sleuths in the audience want to go back to Nisei Monogatari and find the exact moment that we're at this walkway, that'd be great. Because I tried to have a dig through before, but I couldn't see it. It's some moment early on. I think it might be in Karen B. And you're talking with Hachikuji here as Araragi, I believe. I want to see if the conversations match up thematically at all, because it's an interesting location to choose to have this talk, I guess. I feel like Hachikuji's here during it, I really do, so maybe that's the distinguishing factor there. Either way, we made our way out, thanks to Augie and thanks to Nadeko's internal strength, but she starts to rescind on that a little bit, wondering if what she did was the right thing to do. Is the line here from Augie a reflection of Oshino Meme? Am I squinting at that? Something bad happened to you, as opposed to something good happened to you? Because you becoming the Oshino Meme for Nadeko is super interesting, but we're going to drop that unless there's more evidence for it. That's kind of fucking crazy. Again, we emphasize that she's toying around with a Nadeko, so maybe it's just a fun reference or something. I think it's important that at this moment, as Nadeko is wondering if she's doing the right thing and has a bit of this inferiority going on, that we have this kind of call from Kambaru to reassure her that she's on the right track. Moving into the second half of the episode where Sodachi does a very similar thing. Hey, you're doing good here, kid, and so forth, right? I like that Kambaru calls Augie here. It emphasizes the relationship that they have. Remember, Augie is now just attending school as well, so Augie didn't show up for school, Kambaru is going to call and check what's going on. I love this basketball on the ground as Kambaru calls as well. It's like she's perpetually playing basketball. I think it's pretty funny. In particular, I really like the music here. I think it's a standout track in the episode, so shoutouts to that. And yeah, Sengoku starts talking with Kambaru. But again, Augie said that the reason that they're having the day off school is because of personal reasons. Again, pertaining to a person is how we're describing that, which is kind of funny. I like how happy you are. You just seem happy to be talking to Nadeko. Again, to my knowledge, the only time that you two have met before is during Nadeko's snake. So yeah, it has been a while. It's literally been, what, more than a year? Something like that? Really emphasizing in this moment is Nadeko that I am alive, I exist, I am not dead, I'm still active, sorry for making you worry. And Kambara is just like kind of dumb, so she's taking it at face value. Yeah, that is a good thing that you're alive. But at the same moment, it's like stupidly easy. You know what I mean? It's stupidly straightforward and the right thing to say. Yeah, it is good you're alive. Good point. It's like your stupidity turns into your strength at points. I really like Kambaru. I really do. Nadeko thanks Kambaru, again, I think in reference to Nadeko Snake, but maybe just in general for talking to her and calling her and acknowledging that she exists. Again, she's just very nice and cordial and stuff. Either way, here we use her to get some information. Have you seen any other me's around today? Have you seen me before today? What an interesting question. Again, Kambaru doesn't really push on it, which is strange. In the posing department, we have some interesting things going on, but again, that's Kambaru's bag. She just does some stuff like that as she relays the knowledge that, hey, I saw a half-naked middle school girl rolling around here before. And I don't know what the face is here, but it's very funny. I like that face. So yeah, I don't know what the go is here, but Meek Nadeko is literally hand-briaring it up, walking around town. So look forward to that in subsequent episodes. That's going to be fun. For all the Monogatari fans in the audience. I like these, it's like a maps app or something. It's like a pinpoint. There's been sightings of her all over the place, right? Just remember that these sightings are affecting future Nadeko, which is me. Stop, which is also current Nadeko. So stop being naked, put some fucking clothes on. So because there's been so many sightings, now Augie and Nadeko are going to split up and go in different directions and search different places, right? We're going to give Nadeko the bike, so she's going to be on the bike, that's cool. Augie's going to seek other transportation. Again, we must remember that Araragi has a car that he's brooming around in quite often, so maybe we're just going to fucking carjack Araragi, I don't know. This is a really fun visual moment too. We call her Luma Nadeko because she's just wearing bloomers. There must be some Japanese pun at play there as well. But hey Nadeko, I'm going to give you this notebook. You can draw like 100 trillion copies of yourself if you really want to. That way you could search the place very efficiently. We think that making 1 trillion copies of Nadeko is probably a bad idea. It'll turn this thing into a poisonous swamp, which is a fun turn of phrase as well. Yeah, hey, I'm going to go off and do my own thing now. I'm probably not going to use this notebook to make 1 trillion copies of myself. That seems bad. Oh, so we're translating this in MTBB as Snow Sleek Park, which has been replaced. Again, there was some weird language stuff to do with Namashiro Park in the past. So, fun. That's what we're calling it now. Another really fun visual moment here is this. I take solace in the fact that nobody would have recognized me because of the long bangs, but if they did see Luma Nadeko, then they would probably be mighty confused, as we see the Nadeko topless boss here casting confusion on the party, on the RPG party. I think that's a pretty good moment too. But hey, we're at Namashiro Park and we don't see anybody that fits the description as of yet. Then we see this character, and this piqued my interest immediately. I'm like, who the hell is this? Is this a new fucking character? What's going on here, right? As kind of Nadeko goes to leave, she gets interrupted. I'm so glad, Nadeko, you found your clothes after all. And again, I didn't recognize this person at first, but hey, that's Sodachi. So, Sodachi's back, and we'll talk about, again, she explains why she's back and so forth, and explains why that's kind of thematically relevant, right? But I'm just surprised. I didn't expect her to be back, and she is. So this comes out of the blue for Nadeko as well, but she remembers some rumors that circulated to her courtesy of Tsukihi, as my alarm goes off on the other side of the room, excuse me. So again, timeline-wise, it gets kind of weird, but as kind of Nadeko was going through her thing with the White Serpent and so forth, Sodachi left town. I really love the kind of movement between the scene as well. So we're representing the rumor as through kind of a cup telephone thing between the two, and there's kind of that movement into the autumn stuff, which would be representing October, of course, into the snake stuff going on there, and then the leaves sticking around into this silhouetted Sodachi leaving town. Just very well done. The show's very good visually. I don't pause and talk about it enough, probably. I'm a little bit too in the weeds thematically wise, if that makes any sense, themes wise. it's visually very good. This season is the best visually, I think. Rumors indicate that Sodachi returned around April, so we put that in the document. That's all good. And we immediately reference bullying. Now, if we remember Sodachi's story, she was kind of a fucking stick in the mud during class. Again, this is the middle school stuff and not before that, which is all very tragic and interesting and all sorts of stuff as well. You were like bullied because they thought Augie classroom stuff. You were being annoying about a test or something. In reality, it was the teacher's fault, but everybody blamed you. So that was a form of bullying for you, and you didn't go back to class. This is something we can relate to Nadeko on some level. Again, I may not have all the details there, but I think I'm getting the gist. This is also kind of compounded by that other time that Sodachi returned to school, and then Senjugahara fucking beat her up. Which in retrospect probably wasn't a very good thing to do, but hey, we didn't know at the time, and Senjo's gonna Senjo, I guess. We must remember that Nadeko and Sodachi have met before as well, way back in the day. Way back in the day, right? So, again, my knowledge is being stretched here slightly, but Sodachi was at the Araragi household at some point very, very early on, when Nadeko and Tsukihi would have been very, very young, and Araragi was there too, and so forth. She just kind of sat in the room in like a kind of egg and just kind of watched along. Again, I think this was because of her immense jealousy at seeing what another family was even like, at a real family, and how that works, considering the broken home that she comes from, and that kind of stuff. But you were present in the room. That's why you two know each other, right? And you're not like Araragi, you're not secretly forgetful, you don't forget trauma and so forth, right? But because this wasn't your specific trauma, you remembered it perfectly. You knew who this was, right? We see this pensive look on Sodachi's face here as well, as she kind of turns away. If we can grab it, right there, right? Like I'm a disappointment, like I'm... You shouldn't see me here. This is almost the audience's view of her as well. The indication of the end of her stuff in Owari Monogatari was that she was going to walk away and that things looked better. Again, predicated on the envelope, right? We don't get to see what was written in it, but that doesn't really matter. It indicates that she's got a happy ending on the horizon. What's happening here for the audience is seeing that that happy ending didn't eventuate. At least not in her perspective. She hasn't reached her textbook fairy tale storytelling-esque happy ending. She's got more content here to do. She tried and failed, which is better than not trying at all every single time, as I'll continue to emphasize here too. But again, she's embarrassed to be seen by Nadeko and the audience like this, returning back to where she was and not growing. Again, I'm sure you can see how this is relevant to Nadeko, who is confronting versions of her past and talking all about growing and changing from who you used to be. I feel like I've gone back to who I used to be, right? Have you really? Or is that just your perspective on things? Because to me, she seems way more put together now than she used to be. She's less fucking outwardly psycho. It's just good. It's good stuff. Why would Sodachi be interested in Senjugahara's house? Anyway, whatever. I don't understand that. It's probably something. She's like, you probably don't know who Senjo is. Oh yes, I know who it is. We tried to kill each other. It was quite funny, actually. After talking about Senjo as well, we see this cloud here in the sky. There were some clouds last episode as well, too. And this one looks like a crab, obviously referencing Senjo there. A couple of interesting moments here as well. Nadeko tries to call Sodachi by a more professional name, Oyakura-san, something to that effect, right? But no, keep it like it used to be. Keep things the way they used to be and that kind of thing. Don't try to start again with me. We're still familiar. So I like that moment. Again, reflects themes and so forth. But then we get to talk about hair and haircuts and that kind of thing, right? And again, you can see how this applies to Nadeko. I tried to cut my hair and present this new me to everybody else, right? I tried to become something else. Kind of like how Nadeko is, right? She's cut her hair multiple times, as represented by all these different versions. We've got meek Nadeko with the bangs hiding everything. We've got flirty Nadeko who's pushing it up with a headband, showing herself, being open socially on her own terms, right? but also being a bit fake in the process. Is this the real me? We have Wrathful Nadeko, when they got cut, when I was forced to show myself. I don't want to be forced to show myself. I want to do it on my own terms. So again, got angry. And then the snakes, of course, which is the last one. So when we're talking about hair changing here, we're referencing Nadeko as well and what she's going through. So again, themes, but also on a tangible level, I just saw you with a different hairstyle. Why did you change your hair in like an hour and put on clothes? What happened in this like last hour since I last saw you? You even throw some shade here, I think. I think you say that the haircut's kind of bad. You've just kind of haphazardly cut it. I don't know, man. I'm a shut-in. Sorry. I didn't get it cut by a stylist, right? And yeah, this is my own experience speaking, but you absolutely can't turn the other cheek and cry yourself to sleep. We repeat this line twice during this segment. Based on your own experience is interesting. I would love to see somebody talk to this. What are we referencing here? You can't just let things pass you by. You have to take control yourself a little bit. You can't let your outward appearance deteriorate. You have to make sure that everything looks okay to everybody else. Oh, is it more of a reference to bullying? Okay, so you can't let the bullies take over? I don't know what's going on there. Oh, okay. So, again, you think that she's being bullied because she was around naked and stuff, like they stole your clothes and so forth, and then maybe they cut your hair, maybe that's so haphazard, so you would be passionate about bullying. Okay, I see it from that perspective. And then, of course, you can't admit to anything, so you come out as an exhibitionist instead. Everyone needs a hobby, I guess, and being an exhibitionist is an okay one at that. Getting a little bit more onto the meat of the conversation here, we have Sodachi mentioning that the Nadeko seems like she's changed, right? I know I shouldn't judge you based on how you were in like grade school, but in the past you were more, out of kindness. She left it vague, but I think what she was going to say is that you were kind of bland. I wanted to look at this, kind of nothing. You're just kind of nothing in this image, I guess. I really like this image here, obviously, for obvious reasons. Let's try and get the characters here. You're Araragi, because you've got the stupid suspenders on, I think. Which one's Tsukihi? You? Then which one's Karen? You? I'm guessing they're all part of the Araragi family because of the stupid hair thing. Who's the fourth character? I don't know who the fourth character is. Anyway, it's not like... No, it's not anybody we know, I don't think. I was going to say Hanakawa, but we meet Hanakawa in the start of Kizu, so that can't be the case there, I don't think. Unless, again, I'm wrong, which could happen. Probably likely to happen, if I'm honest. I think I skipped it earlier, but when you were talking about cutting your hair and changing and stuff, you said that you failed, right? You re-reference it here, right? I tried to do a very similar thing. Change. You've changed. How'd you do it? Because when I tried to change, I couldn't change my image. I tried entering college, cutting my hair, living on my own, trying all these different things about myself, but I ended up being the same old person. And again, ran around in circles and came back to where I was originally, right? It must feel quite defeating. Trying to go out on this grand journey and move on from what I used to be. Again, this town, literally where my mother fucking died. I'm back here again, where the trauma is, Emphasizing that trauma point too. I can't escape my origins like that. I can't just leave it all behind, And Nadeko in her own way tries to, I guess, reassure Sodachi here, right? Telling her that she's not going to school at the moment, right? I wasn't bullied, but I made a mess in my class, right? Really made a mess. And because of that, I couldn't go anymore. I can't go to school. Oh, so maybe you've already heard about that as well. If that's the case, you're right. I was like that too. I was bullied to a point where I couldn't go to school. Right? Well, kind of. Something happened where I couldn't go to school. I don't know if it was literally bullying, but it was kind of bullying. So meeting you here is some kind of fate, Nadeko. Let me reassure you. I'm literally a living example of it. Not going to school anymore won't end your life. Your life's going to be fine after school. Life continues after school. Something I emphasized very early in the show, and the way that these kind of things go for a lot of high school anime, is that life does end after school. There's no more growth or character or anything. And again, the really poignant and subversive thing that Monogatari does is continuing the story after the finale, after the graduation. Life does continue. It's not like a story, And again, you can take some personal stuff from that, I feel. Kind of BoJack Horseman in structure as well. I kind of like that. Cool. It's very cool. I really like the aspect ratio change here as we get a more somber look at Sodachi, right? Yeah, it really doesn't end. I thought it was all going to end, but it didn't end. I'm still here. How do I reconcile that? This, to me, indicates there will be future Sodachi content. Pretty obviously, visually here, we have Sodachi pushing Nadeko on the swing now as well, giving her that oomph to do the next part, as she pries into her life and asks some questions about the parents. So the parents are pushing you to look for a job and go back to school or whatever else, right? So like, I can't find a job, so I got confused as to what I'm even supposed to be doing. Now, we didn't really explain this here, but the parents just said go get a job. And again, what we talk about here is maybe they secretly don't want you to get a job, but want you to instead return to school, right? And they can't say that and said something else that they didn't mean, but clearly still want the best for you. Sonachi's piece of advice is this. I used to be somebody that used to take everybody quite seriously, right? And believe everything that everybody said. In reality, humans are a little bit more complex than that, right? So when your parents say that you should go get a job, what they might mean is something else, right? And they're just not really asking the question in the correct way. Nobody's always completely truthful. There may be some small lies here and there. The parents may still want to spoil you in this regard, Nadeko, right? So in saying this to you, they may feel bad themselves. This may be a feel-bad thing for them to be doing as well. Visually here, we also have Sodachi kind of guiding Nadeko through this kind of gap in the play equipment, right? Guiding her through this social situation as well. I don't think your parents meant what they said, kind of, right? I don't think they wanted to have that response from you. Don't take their words at face value. They probably want you to attend high school. Make sure you see them for who they are. If you don't, the situation might become one where you're following their directives with absolute obedience, yet making them feel unpleasant as a result. Learn to read between the lines a little bit more. What are the parents trying to do here? Telling her to get a job might be not really what they want. What they want for you is to gain some motivation, whether it be doing what you're doing with the manga stuff or returning to school. They want you to become yourself again, and a kind of saying these harsh words is kind of a thing to propel that forward a little bit, right? If you go and get a job and are miserable, you make them miserable in turn. Read between the lines a little bit. It's very interesting that Sodachi's the character to say this, considering she's the most logical and literal character in the show. And just remember that no matter what goes on, right, time keeps marching forward. You're going to become an adult one day, one way or another, so everything's going to be fine. Either way, this conversation with Nadeko for Sodachi motivated her to attend some more lectures, so it was inspiring for her as well. Maybe, again, seeing a mirror to yourself a little bit and seeing a previous version of yourself in a lot of ways as well gives you a little bit of motivation towards improvement as well. So I'm actually going to go in and attend lectures, which is huge. Go to lectures, they're massive. Please do that if you're going to college or university or anything else in between. I don't recall giving her motivation, but I motivated her regardless. I think that's more of a personal Sodachi thing. Hey, that was a great conversation. I really, really liked it. Thematically dense, a great reintroduction for Sodachi. These two characters reflect each other in ways that I didn't see before. Just lots of good stuff. Great writing decisions. Thank you, Nishio-san. You are crazy, crazy man. Either way, we got Sodachi's contact info so we can contact her if things go really pear-shaped. The other thing is that tell me who's tormenting you and I'll give those guys true pain. So I guess she still does have this slightly sadistic and crazy side in her, hiding. A little bit of Senju Gahara in this actually as well, which is quite interesting. That's some scary parting advice, but there was a hint hidden in there as well. If our conversation had gone on for a bit longer, perhaps I may have arrived at that hint myself. So you mentioned Tsukihi, and then you mentioned Karen right there, as if an unspoken agreement. We didn't once mention the name of the mutual acquaintance, but it's Araragi Koyomi, right? That's who we're going to go see. Oh, and I really like this. I missed this in the moment because I was saying some stupid bullshit. But the reason why we figure out that that Nadeko is everywhere at once is that she's avoiding one location in particular. Now that we know it's Meek Nadeko, this makes a lot of sense as well. Now, what would be the one location that Meek Nadeko would want to go? Araragi's house, of course. So if we go to Araragi's house and talk to Araragi, we can get a better view into how this is all working. Also, we can be a little bit more frank with him and the occult stuff, I think. Again, we kind of connect all the kind of locations where she has been and find where she hasn't been, and that's the location where she wants to be, what's at the center of the polygon. I really like this zoom out of the map and the houses to become manga panels of Nadeko's journey here as well, which is very good. And again, those coordinates show that this is the Araragi house hold, or where Araragi lives. It's one of the two. There's an Araragi faceplate on it, and I'm thinking if Araragi now currently lives out of home, that if there's another location there, that he wouldn't have a nameplate on the house. That wouldn't make any sense. So like, is it just the Araragi household? Are we going to talk to Tsukihi and Karen instead? I don't know. It was one of the two. I would like to see the main character again. That would be nice. But maybe he's just the main character until his stuff is over, and then we move on to other characters that are more interesting, like Nadeko. Because Araragi's gone through his struggle already. At least most of it. So yeah. Cool. That was the episode, everybody. And I talked for a long time again. But again, I think that's the best episode thus far. The best visually, the best thematics-wise, the best everything. It was very, very good. New Monogatari good, old Monogatari good. I learnt that as well this episode. Just good. It's lots of good happening. Good. I'll be back next week. Let me know about stopping points, of course. I've only really got that 2-episode buffer. But just let me know. Let me know when things are ending and so forth. Thanks for being here. Thanks for watching. Thanks for going to the end. Patreon if you want to be that 1 week ahead. Discord if you want to talk about the show with me. Like the video. Subscribe. I'm going to skedaddle. Thanks for watching this week. I'll catch you later. Goodbye. Bye-bye.